Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Stephen Brown, and in today's video, guys, let's go over some news and notes on yesterday's game, teeing up tonight's game, and then I want to answer some questions from Twitter. It definitely isn't everything, but it is comforting at first glance to see the Leafs come out on top in terms of the deserve to win-o-meter quite handily as well. And if you're looking at the scoring chance breakdown between both of these teams, the Toronto Maple Leafs did a fairly decent job at peppering Carey Price with scoring chances, and to give him credit, he's been really good for Montreal in this series. Like, yeah, he did let in 5 goals in game 2, and they weren't able to add the empty netter to ice off that game, but the Maple Leafs were very much in control of that game, and they got a lot of scoring chances to their credit. Watching Montreal when the game is either tied or they're losing is going to be interesting moving forward in this series, because I honestly don't think they know what to do when they don't have a lead. Watching the series so far, they've been able to create chances off of turnovers from the neutral zone and the Maple Leafs mishandling the puck in the offensive zone, but they're not really generating a ton of anything. And when they have, Jack Campbell hasn't let in any really soft goals. I mean, the one that Tyler Toffoli scored yesterday to tie it at 1-1, it was a good shot. It was a good shot. He maybe could have had that one, but it was also a good shot. And again, the big boys come into play. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander. Mitch Marner with a primary assist in this game, which is kind of monumental for him. It was his first primary point at 5-on-5 in the playoffs in his last 13 games, and his last one was a goal against Boston in Game 1 in 2018-19. No goals, 9 assists, and he's a -7 in those last 14 games. To give Mitch Marner some credit, though, the penalty kill has been amazing in this series, and he's a real bright spot on it. He makes it really hard on the Montreal defenseman. If you watch him, he's very aggressive up at the point in disturbing them from distributing the puck down low and getting any real shots off. William Nylander, not much more than I can say about him other than, yes, Willie, yes, please, give us more. Give us more in this back-to-back here. Let's close out this series by Thursday. Riley Nash drew into this one for an injured Nick Foligno. I think that's just him going through some bumps and bruises, but we'll take a look at it a little bit later in the video, see if he's going to be in the lineup for Game 4 or not. Scala, Chanyak, this is his second game of the playoffs, and the first one was miserable, and I thought that this one was miserable too. Do they have anyone else that they can maybe slot into his spot, or do you keep going back to Scala, Chanyak? I don't know. We're going to take a look at the lines for tonight's game in a second, like I said. But I don't know. It's going to be an interesting question. And of course, just to add another layer, because we touched on Jack Campbell a little bit earlier, but really, I mean, the best way that you can sum up his performance is that he's giving this team everything they could possibly need and ask for from their goalie. You know, I'm sure this frustrates a lot of media members, but I don't think I can really call myself a media member, and as a fan, I love this. Good old fog of war, not letting the other coach prepare hours before the game. Yeah, I mean, just kind of makes sense. So for the purpose of this video, we will be speculating and talking about what I would like to see happen, and then at about 5:30 or so, whenever the news does break, I will leave it as a pinned comment in the comment section, and we'll see how well we do. So if Nick Foligno is in, and the Maple Leafs aren't subbing out any of the veteran players, I could see them doing something like this. Riley Nash against the team as passive as Montreal is offensively, you're not going to get the full effect of him in the lineup there. You got better guys who can do more for you, taking the puck the other way. And Alexei Chanyak, man, you had 2 opportunities and you laid a goose egg both times. Alex Kerfoot, we're seeing him not constrained to playing a third-line shutdown center role or a shutdown winger role on the third line. And you're really seeing him come to life. You're getting to see him play with guys like William Nylander. He got to play with Alex Galchenyuk again last game. You put him in an offensive role, it gives him his mojo back. And that's what I'm really, really liking about his game, because he's got more confidence, right? He can skate with the puck more. He can dish it off to other guys. Other guys are passing it to him. He's just more involved in the game. And I think when you get him more involved in the game, is when you see that really chippy, edgy side of him come out, and that's exactly what the Maple Leafs need in the playoffs. Definitely not a long-term solution, but really, really loving seeing this guy come to life in the playoffs, and kind of back me up, because I've had his back for the last month or so, and it's nice to see that he's making me look somewhat good. Joe Thornton had a tough game one, not really the greatest game two, even though the Maple Leafs did win 5-1. He wasn't really much of a factor in that game. He had a bounce back game three. And I wonder, Sheldon Keefe, you may want to rest that guy, but you also may want to build on that momentum. So I can totally understand if Joe is in this lineup, especially if Nick Foligno's not a go for this game. Joe's got to be in this lineup. If Nick Foligno isn't a go in this game, I can still see Adam Brooks drawing in, but I can also see Alex Chanyak staying in the lineup. And it's just by the grace of injuries, I guess, he getting another opportunity, and I hope that he makes the most of it if that's the case. And finally, if some of you were getting really upset and yelling at me that I had Frederik Andersen in the starting spot instead of Jack Campbell, Cap Friendly just does that automatically because Frederik Andersen makes more money than Jack Campbell. I think Jack Campbell starts this game. I know you have to think long term, but you also have to think in the short term when it comes to the playoffs, and Jack Campbell has been sparkling, awesome, and it's just, we really don't know what we're gonna get from Frederik Andersen. It's the main thing that's holding me back here. We really don't know. And in the case of the other two teams who've had a back-to-back so far these playoffs, the Jets and the Oilers, Mike Smith and Connor Hellebuyck started the first and second half of those. The Leafs started this series off with a huge hit momentum-wise in losing John Tavares the way that they did. They won game two. They won game three. They're at a high right now. And I think that putting Frederik Andersen in there would be a mistake. You're creating anxiety that doesn't need to be there among the players and the fan base because you just don't know what you're going to get. And if he lets in a soft goal, you lose that momentum that you've built up in the previous two games. Especially because Carey Price is expected to be the starter tonight. So that'll make Price, Hellebuyck, and Mike Smith, the three other goalies that were involved in back-to-back games so far these playoffs, all played first and second half. But I don't know. It's really difficult because I think at some point these playoffs, I think it's unrealistic to expect Jack Campbell to play every single game. You will have to go to Frederik Andersen at some point. I don't know if it's now. I don't know if it's this early. Definitely do let me know down in the comment section. I'm definitely not casting Freddie off to the side. I think he still is an important member of this team. I think he is going to serve a role these playoffs. But I'm nervous. I'd be really nervous to put him in. Okay, now I said I'd answer a couple of your questions. Do you start Campbell game 4? Yes. And also, just another thing to add to this conversation. I know I already talked about it, but I don't think that Sheldon Keefe is one for the dramatics. I think he's a guy who likes to know what to expect from certain players, and when he sees inconsistent play, it drives him absolutely up the wall, and that's why we've seen Pierre Engvall put in the doghouse at times, because he confuses and frustrates a lot of us. Speaking of Pierre Engvall here, Playoff J, Hyman Hustles here asking, you were a staunch defender, I like the word choice there, of Pierre Engvall last season and saw him as a significant member of our penalty kill. Why do you think he hasn't found himself in that role this season, despite having shown some significant improvements in his game? I think this is kind of a cheap answer to start off here, Jay, but I think that Pierre Engvall, he wasn't really there to start the season, and then towards the middle of the year wasn't really there either. And then once the Maple Leafs were able to afford to have him around after they were able to dip into LTIR, they already had their penalty killer set. Kerfoot, Marner, Hyman, Mikheyev, and then they added Foligno and Nash on top of that. I think if they needed him to kill penalties, they probably could put him back into that role, but by the time he was a mainstay on this team, they already had everything sorted. And also, it's not like he's the greatest at faceoffs either to justify putting him there. The Maple Leafs have a lot of wingers who can play the penalty kill. I noticed this too, but Jack Can illustrates it a lot better than I could probably explain it. Sheldon Keefe has been using him on the fly a lot. And using him on the fly right off the bench allows him to be effective in the neutral zone, where I think he's at his best, because he's able to use his long reach, to use his speed, to go east and west, to break up plays, and really disrupt what Montreal is trying to do in transition, and that's also what Jack goes on to illustrate here and point out. I can't overstate how beautiful it is to watch a team with a coach who actually tries to put his players in positions to succeed. And then Noah asking here, would you listen to 24 hours of happy hours straight in order to guarantee we go up 3-1 in the series? Now, I don't know what the hell that is, but it does not sound very happy or pleasant. If Noah's asking me if I would do it to ensure this, but I think it's important to preface this. There's very few things that I would not do for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, to further the success of this channel, I completely shaved my head bald for 1,000 subscribers. And I did it again this summer because I actually thought it kind of suited me when I did it the last time around. And there's no barber shops open or anything like that. It's a lot cooler. It's a lot comfortable. And it's just like, I don't know what that is, but sure. I'm also almost always burn ahead anyway, so it's like, I don't really care. And then Leafs Only Hockey asking here, how do you think both teams will do tonight after a very intense game last night? What are your game predictions? I think the Toronto wins this game. I think they score the first goal and score a couple early. And I think you see this game really explode with a lot of physicality. I'm just waiting for Wayne Simmons to drop the gloves, and he's waiting to do it too. You can see he really wants to pick the moment when he just absolutely pops somebody because he really wants it to mean something. Then a little bit of a 2-for-1 special here. Who has surprised you the most in the series? For me, it's Alex Kerfoot. He has really stepped it up, man. If I can copy your answer here, because I'm kind of running out of time with this video, but yeah, Kerfoot, 100%. He's been integral to the last 2 wins in the last 2 games, and if the Leafs are going to make it without John Tavares, they're going to need him to continue just being an absolute heel out there. And I guess I'm also curious, what have you seen different in Kerfoot's game that you didn't see before? And just to kind of reiterate what I said earlier, confidence, freedom, and better, more offensively minded line mates. That's going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure to look for the pinned comment at around 5 or 5:30 or so, or stay up to date yourself on Twitter or however you choose to do that. I'm sure you'll get an update or just watching the pregame show or whatever like that. But I will leave a pinned comment updating any lineup changes or game time decisions or anything like that with this video. Hope you all are doing well, and I'm looking forward to watching another Leafs win tonight. How about you guys?